morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, I guess, depending on where you guys are calling in from. Really appreciate having you guys on board for this little webinar. So, the first thing I'd really like to talk about, quite honestly, is just, virtualization in this life science industry. And obviously, as you well know, pharma, biotech, especially when it comes to IT and infrastructure systems and so on, always lag behind with the rest of the industry, rest of the other kinds of industries, only because there's always fear of compliance issues, change control issues, validation issues, FDA audit issues and whatnot. Now, and that's that's the who moved my cheese problem. So a lot of times you get the argument saying, hey, if it ain't broke, it's working right now, why fix it? I mean, is there really any benefit to actually going this particular route? And also the whole point is is it really justified to go virtual? We have to qualify our new infrastructure now. I mean, I just went through the whole physical network infrastructure qualification, and I have a whole bunch of applications that are validated. Why go through all this again? What about Part 11? Do I have to be worried about that? So maybe some applications are not explicitly supported by VMware or any other, ZenSource or Citrix. So is this a risk worth taking? All of these questions come up, and there's obviously a great fear there. And also, is there really, truly any value in moving all of my mission-critical applications to a virtual environment? I mean, what do I really get out of it? What's the cost to benefit over here? So there are significant IT benefits, and I'm sure that the IT folks who are logged on here are all salivating and going in a virtual direction. Obviously, in a data center, there's a lot of physical server sprawl. And the physical server sprawl is obviously directly proportional to the IT labor costs. And of course, in the new in word, which is being green, server sprawl, physical servers take up a lot of energy, a huge electricity bill, and you have to obviously cool your data center. And that takes a lot of money as well. Now, with a virtual environment, obviously, you still have that problem. You could also potentially have virtual machine sprawl, but if your environment is well managed and well maintained, you can curb that and keep a close lookout for it. The other significant advantage is you can rapidly prototype and rapidly provision servers, different types of servers, whether it's Windows 2003, Windows 2008, 64-bit, 32-bit, Linux, whatever. You can set up templates which you have qualified, and you can rapidly provision them and deploy them, whereas it would take a hell of a long time to do that on a physical environment. You'd have to install the OS, and you have to install images, get the hardware, configure it, and all of that. There's also a distinct separation between the infrastructure layer, the hardware OS, and the application layer. So the applications now sit on your virtual infrastructure, and as far as the applications are concerned, it doesn't care whether you're in a virtual environment or you're in a physical environment. From a BIOS on up, they really don't see any difference. The operating systems that sit on it or the application layers really don't see any difference at all. The infrastructure management, in a sense, can be a lot simpler, but that can be a double-edged sword as well. If your virtual infrastructure is not managed very well, you could have VM sprawl, where you have tons of virtual machines popping up and can get out of control pretty quickly. So you'll have to be careful about that. Redundancies and high availability obviously is a significant benefit with virtualization with VMware's the high availability tools like vMotion and things like that. You can move the virtual machines from physical server to physical server. If a physical server craps out, in a matter of minutes, you can have it up and running at another physical machine. So the extent of redundancy is just phenomenal. And of course, the disaster recovery as well is more reliable and less expensive. Now, the entire image can be copied, can be saved at a particular point in time. You can take a snapshot and save that image. And you can always go back to that particular image to debug problems, debug issues. You have change controls you want to investigate that a little further, you can always go back to a particular point in time, which is extremely hard to do in a physical environment. And also, you get significant development and testing processes as well. You can do it a lot easier in a virtual environment, only because you can spin up instances or copies of your existing servers, of your production servers, and deploy them elsewhere in a more in a segregated network environment, and do your testing, really enhanced testing, and you can actually do a like-for-like image of your production environment as well. And with a lot of the VMware tools, you can really put a lot of emphasis on automation and really reduce the extent of procedural time, and which obviously equates to manpower and labor hours, which in this day and age we really want to try and save some money as well. Based on all of that, you really can start freeing up your resources, which equates to money, and focus those resources really on application innovation and less on day-to-day mundane operation and maintenance of your infrastructure. From a physical to a virtual environment, the advantages are significant for IT. With a physical machine, it's really difficult for you to move or copy servers. It's a snap in a virtual environment. In a physical environment, you're bound to a particular set of hardware. Here, you're independent of hardware. If the hardware is not supported tomorrow, you don't care. Your virtual machines can continue to be running in a virtual environment. Physical machines obviously have a very short life cycle, and a virtual machine has a much longer life cycle and can be ported and moved as deemed necessary by your IT department or your IT infrastructure requirements. It's also extremely easier to manage the virtual environment remotely, and it's insulated from the physical hardware and physical hardware changes, which is obviously a huge benefit.